Hello everyone! Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. I am Dr. Riza Lorenzana, the Scientific Committee Co-Chair of akoparasabata 2021. Ako Para sa Bata is celebrating 13 years with the theme Reimagining the Future, Breaking Barriers, Bridging Gaps. The series of webinars will describe the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on children and on the practice of child protection 1 year into this challenging time. Discuss the different adaptations in child protection during pandemic and how we can transition to its future practice, and discuss strategies to strengthen resilience of child protection frontliners, parents, adolescents, and children. Ako Para sa Bata is presented by the Child Protection Network Foundation and UNICEF. We know that providing continuing knowledge to professionals caring and advocating for children is essential, most especially during this difficult time when it is even more important that services and advocacy remain unhampered. So before we officially start webinar 5, we request everyone to stand up from wherever you are, stretch a bit, and follow the steps to the Ako Para sa Bata 2021 challenge. I'll demonstrate again the basic steps to our call side. So please follow me. So that's ako, tayo, para sa bata. Ako, tayo, para sa bata. Okay, so game, let's do it together. Show the video, please. Okay, thank you very much for participating. And now, may I turn you over to the chair and moderator of Ako Para sa Bata Webinar 5, Storm, Stress, and Resilience, Parenting Teens in the Time of Pandemic. She is a fellow at the Philippine Pediatric Society Subspecialty in Adolescent Medicine. She is a consultant at the Division of Adolescent Medicine in the Philippine General Hospital, in Mary Child's General Hospital, and in Medical Center Manila. She is also a member of the Philippine Medical Association and the Quezon City Medical Society. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome the Chair and Moderator, Dr. Margaret May C. Maanyo.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the webinar 5 of Ako Para sa Bata 2021, Storm, Stress, and Resilience, Parenting Teens in the Time of the Pandemic. On behalf of the Child Protection Network Foundation and UNICEF, we are very grateful for your continued support. So our general objective for this session is to discuss the strategies to strengthen resilience of parents, adolescents, and children, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. And specifically, we would like to describe the current challenges of parenting teenagers, discuss the strategies for parenting teenagers, as well as discuss practices to help strengthen resilience for teenagers and for their parents. We will be hearing from parents of our adolescents and also tips from our resource speaker. So the COVID-19 pandemic has been part of our lives since March of 2020. And even up to present, with the resurgence of cases, the country has been put on lockdowns. Lives have been lost, and many are still worried for their loved ones who may still be afflicted with this infection. Businesses have been forced to shut down or file for bankruptcy. Many employees had been laid off. Those who are still working are either working from home or had been forced to transfer for work conveniences. Work shifted from face-to-face to online platforms. Schools shifted to modular learning or mixed type of learning with both asynchronous and asynchronous learning modules. Those in grade school required direct supervision from their parents, while those in high school, they had to cope with this new type of learning. They are either coping well or are having a hard time concentrating in class. The daily disruption of daily routines, including teens' interaction with their friends and classmates, have led to increased cases of mental health problems. Let us now move on to the next part. So thank you again for participating. So now that we know a little bit of how you have been experiencing and handling the pandemic, we would love to hear this time from the parents of our teenagers. So we are able to interview some mothers of our adolescents. They come from different backgrounds, some from the social work field, and also from the business industry. We are lucky and blessed to have them share their COVID experience with us. So let us listen to their stories and experience. You might find some of them similar or resonating your own experience. So please watch the video.
Nung unang lockdown, that was 2020, sobrang, kasi wala namang prepared talaga dito sa COVID na ito. Tapos, sudden closure ng schools, abnormal lahat. So, yung nangyari, dati nakakalabas kami, nakakalabas yung mga kids, nakakalabas yung teenagers ko para mag-socialize. Tapos biglang eto. So, naging abnormal yung environment. Napakahirap. Kasi andun yung fear, uncertainties, napaka-complex yung environment natin. Bilang isang working mom na nagtatrabaho sa isang COVID referral center, parang nagkaroon ng dilemma ako kung magre-resign na ba ako dahil may ganitong pandemic or dito na lang ako sa bahay kasi for the safety of my children, for the safety rin ng sarili ko. Pero marami kang dapat i-balance. Actually, yung roles ko as a mother, as a parent, parang sabog nung time na yun. Pati rin yung mga bata, hindi ko sila masyadong natutukan. Kasi first time in the history, magkakaroon tayo ng remote learning na bawat anak mo kailangan may gadget para makapag-comply doon sa schools. Yung paano mo sila i-handle doon sa mga assignments, paano mo sila tututukan, kasabay din ng tawag ng pagiging empleyado ng gobyerno na nasa ospital. Sobrang ang dami mong iniisip noon. Kaya lang habang dumadaan yung panahon, natututunan mong ibalanse, natututunan din ng mga bata na mag-adjust. So far ngayon, kahit paano may struggle pa rin dahil sa pandemic, pero nabawasan na ito kasi may mga coping ding na-adapt na yung mga bata.
Nag-transition from online class, nagkaroon po ng transition. So, pati yung pakikimingle nila sa friends nila, very limited.
Pero of course, meron kaming fear. Alam mo yung mixed emotion because of the pandemic. Hindi namin alam what's next ahead. Parang everything is blurred. Parang uncertain yung times. So that time may may anxiousness kami. And yet, we try to divert everything. Sabi ko, why don't we do some exercise? So kanya-kanya kaming workout and then walking within the subdivision or biking, something like that. Pero eventually, nung medyo tumatagal na, Doc, medyo nagkakaroon na kami ng problema. Siyempre, that's the time that boredom started to come in or maybe sip in. Pero basically, healthy kami lahat. And then suddenly, tragedy strikes in the family. Namatay yung daddy niya. That's a time na biglang everything seems nag-collapse. So, ako personally affected. Each member of the family is also affected. So, hindi namin alam on how we're gonna handle everything because everything is so sudden and so quick. With the pandemic, kailangan ilibing kagad, i-cremate kagad, kahit hindi naman COVID-related yung kinamatay ng husband ko. That's the time na medyo nagkaroon ako ng problema sa pag-handle sa kanya kasi nagkaroon siya ng sort of depression.
kasi personally as a mother, since childhood nitong tatlo kong anak, nag-set na talaga ako ng mga rules and regulation at home. So, since parang ang pinaka last time na nagkaroon kami kasi ng house helper is when my daughter is only, I think, 12. So, she's currently 19. So, almost 7 years na po na kami-kami na lang ito. Sa akin, walang babae o lalaki. Sa usapin ng paglalaba, for example lang, kasi syempre, wala nga kaming yaya sa bahay. So, laban namin ito, luto namin ito, etc. So, the boys are given schedule to do the laundry. For all of us, we are 5 in the family. So, lahat po sila yung tatlo. And then myself, except my husband kasi di naman ina-excuse namin, pero syempre most of the time wala kasi siya sa house. Kami-kami lang talaga to na 4. So, ang ginagawa ko sa mga boys ay bigyan sila ng sked and then they follow it religiously naman. I make it sure na gagawin nila ito sa oras na wala silang klase. Kailangan mong sabihin sa mga anak mo yung, alam niyo, appreciation ko sa kanilang pag-exert ng effort. Kasi hindi siya biro. Kung tayo nga nahihirapan, na tayo pa yung mga adult, lalo na itong mga kabataan.
My number 1 rules in our house until now, they are not allowed to go outside. People at home are only allowed to go outside when buying essentials. But most of the time, we avail online services. That's it. I don't impose rewards and punishment because I believe it doesn't work on teens as much as it does on kids. Also, my kids are responsible enough to distinguish right from wrong. Yes, I impose rules on internet usage, especially during school days. Okay? They are only allowed to use their gadgets until 9 p.m.
Wala akong limit na binigay sa amin. Kasi yun lang yung access mo to the outside world. So, kung ilimit mo yon, the more na magiging, magiging problema pa yata. And then, kanya-kanyang gamit, yung husband ko, Netflix marathon. Tapos, ako naman, more on news, mga doco. Kaming dalawa, we do some doco. And then, social media, Facebook, IG, mga something like that. Pero, yung IG niya, tsaka Facebook niya, may access pa rin ako. Naka-open siya sa gadget ko. So, controlled yung whatever he's gonna do. Kasi ever since, na-instill ko na yun sa kanya, I should have an access. So, wala siyang anything na hindi magandang ginagawa. Pag yung meron siyang kausap na hindi maganda, lalo na nagmumura, kinocall ko yung attention ng bata. So, very conscious sila na, ay, ops, sabi ko, anak, parang hindi magandang kausap yung kausap mo. So, that's it. Sasabihan niya, hindi ako. Kasi, kailangan ma-set din yung tamang values, di ba?
Since kasi ang mga anak ko naman ay nasa early adults na, so, hindi na ako masyadong nag-i-impose ng mga limits. As long as ang understanding nila ay number 1 task nila is finish their assignments, attend online classes, and then, kasi nandyan naman ako, especially at night. So, I keep on reminding them lang na, oops, wag masyadong magbabad na kung tapos na ang homework. Konting browse lang siguro sa Facebook. So, aware po sila sa ganon. So, medyo pag nalaman nila kasi ang aming tinitirhan ay up and down, ako ay nag-occupy sa taas. Pag bumaba ako ng mga around 10 o'clock at tingin ako sa kanila, alam na po nila yon. Kung ano ang cue ko, ang signal ko na, oops, pagtapos na po ang lahat sa gawain sa assignments nila, hindi ko sila masyadong pinapababad talaga kasi even sila alam nila na mahalaga din talaga yung makondisyon ng sarili nila sa oras ng tulog. Kasi ako, ini-emphasize ko talaga may time dyan, bukas na yan. Even nga, pagka-exam period nila na sasabihin sa akin, kailangan ko tapusin. Sabi ko, if you can wake up early, pahinga ka na, and then agahan mo na lang bukas. Kasi pagka masyado kang nababad sa gabi, sa pag-aaral or sa pag-browse sa internet, hindi ka, windang ka rin kinaumagahan.
In terms of pag-i-exercise, talagang kulang. Kahit ako as a parent, kulang yung exercise ko. Yung exercise ko, yung pagpasok na lang, pag-uwi sa bahay. Pero yung mga bata talaga, nabawasan sila dun sa mga physical activities nila. Kasi napakasimple lang naman ng house chores, di ba? Mag-a-assist sa'yo, maglalaba, hindi naman sila papawisan masyado sa ganun. Magwawalis, maghuhugas ng mga plato.
Aside from encouraging daily exercise at home, actually they are health conscious right now. But sad to say, we're getting bigger and bigger. Okay?
Since nag-pandemic kasi, di ba lahat nasa bahay? So sabi ko, masaya kasi buo lagi sa kainan sa lamesa. Pero parang ako ang na-challenge kasi nakaata sa akin ang, syempre bata, di ba, may time na hindi pwede silang lumabas. Only essential worker and frontliner ang pwedeng lumabas. So, naobliga ako na siguraduhin ko na ang ref ko may laging maluluto ako umaga, tanghali, gabi. Kasi wala talagang choice ang mga bata, wala silang makakain kapag hindi ako naghanda. So, ito ang maganda. Since lahat po nasa bahay, ang anak ko, ang husband ko. So, sabi ko, hala, baka magsitabaan kayo. Kasi di ba, eating all the time, sitting all the time, sleeping all the time. So, sabi ko sa asawa ko, baka naman kaya natin bumili ng treadmill. Sabi niya, well, siguro baka may mahanap tayo mura. So, ang asawa ko ay agree sa gano'n kasi siya din, sabi niya, gusto ko din yan. So, nag-invest kami sa mga gano'n. Bumili kami ng treadmill. Bumili ako ng dumbbells for my boys and for my girls. Ako ay bought 2 skipping ropes. Kasi sabi ko, kailangan natin ipasok siya sa routine. Every other day, kung hindi kayang every day, during weekend, kung talagang hirap from Monday to Friday.
Actually, our families is doing fine. Tapos regarding bonding time, we usually eat together during dinner on weekdays. Due to conflict of schedules, on online class. My eldest usually eat at 11 a.m. Then I finish my online class at 12 noon, and my youngest finishes online class at 1 p.m. So we usually eat together during dinner time lang talaga. Due to yung sa schedule ng online class. Then, but during weekends, we eat, grill, and bake together. Actually, my kids are the one who grilled and bake. I don't know how to bake. Okay? And my only responsibilities is to check their assignments and activities for the day. It's my eldest daughter who teach her brother with her schoolworks.
Dating sa family, yung eating time, may times na sabay-sabay kami, like dinner o kaya lunch, lalo na pag weekend. And then, yung bonding, wala talaga masyadong bonding do kasi ang daming restrictions eh. Ngayon lang kami naging level 3 kasama ng NCR. And then, hopefully, makapag-plan out na rin kami on weekend getaway. And then, pagdating sa schooling ng anak ko, tinutulungan ko naman siya yung abot ng mga kaya ko pagdating sa pagre-remind ng mga requirements niya. And then, kung may research na kailangan, tinutulungan ko siya. Like, or yung mga work niya, pinapa-edit like that, i-edit ko. Pero minimal lang kasi bawal, parang may pinirmahan kaming commitment na bawal yung, alam mo na, yun.
Sa banding time naman, ang ginagawa namin kapag wala pong klase sila sa weekend. Kasi dito lang kami nakatira along Pedro Hill, malapit sa Rojas Boulevard. So, ako ang madalas mag-aya na nag-ano kami, nagja-jogging sa may Baywalk.
Itong pandemic na ito ay sobrang pagsubok sa amin kasi dahil nga din sa nandito ako nagtatrabaho sa ospital, siguro yung back and forth ko din dito, kung sino-sinong nakakasalamuha. Kasi kahit naman naka-face shield ka, naka-face mask ka, talagang kung mahina din ang resistensya mo, pwede kang dapuan pa rin pwede ka pa rin kapitan ng virus. So, nag-positive ako last April this year at nahawa ko yung buong pamilya ko. So, yun ang talagang sobrang down kami kasi isolated talaga kami. Hindi ka makalabas, hindi ka makapamalengke. 14 days quarantine, wala ka ng supplies. Pero napaka-bless namin kasi maraming taong tumulong, maraming kaibigang tumulong, maraming kamag-anak na talagang nag-share. Maraming nagtatanong, kumusta kayo? So, madali rin namin nalampasan yung ganung pagsubok sa buhay namin. Recently, akala ko tapos na, nalampasan namin yung mga ganung health issues. Recently, sinubok uli kami. Ang asawa ko na-diagnose na may cancer. Parang ang bigat kasi sa kabila nitong mga stress na nararamdaman natin, abnormal na kapaligiran, and yet sinusubok pa tayo ng ganitong problema. Paano i-cope ito? Paano ito tatanggapin ng mga bata? Actually, yun ang fear namin kasi napaka-close ng mga bata sa tatay nila. Parang inisip namin baka hindi nila matanggap, baka mag-breakdown, nag-aaral sila ngayon. Pero nung trinay namin kausapin ng mga bata, kasi hindi pa pwede magsinungaling tayo, nag-aantay yun ng result ng biopsy. Alam na nila kung anong pa pwedeng sakit ng daddy nila, and yet i-delay natin yung information. So parang unfair naman sa kanila. The time na sinabi namin nila yun online, kasi dito pa kami sa hospital, siguro napakaganda rin siguro ng mga disposisyon ng mga bata, napakalawak at naintindihan nila yung sitwasyon. Yung iniisip namin na magbe-breakdown sila, na baka mag-fail sila sa class, wala na silang focus, hindi po nangyari.
Yung nagsimula talaga yun sa family ng brother ko. Very close kami. So by compound talaga kami. So malaki kasi yung compound ko. Every time na dito niya pinapark yung car niya. Sila yung madalas lumabas. So actually hindi naman kami close contact talaga na yung very na pupunta siya sa Kaya lang siguro tama yung sabi nila, airborne siguro talaga ang COVID. Airborne. Then after that, nung malaman kong nag-positive sila, natakot na ako. Natakot na ako. Tapos naramdaman ko parang nagkaroon ako ng fever, symptoms, mild symptoms. Tapos after that, sumunod yung youngest ko, yung kids. Mild symptoms siya. Then ilang days lang, yung eldest daughter ko na. Kasi po, ang eldest daughter ko talaga is considered comorbidities. Then after that, sabi ng eldest ko, Ma, I think we need to call a doctor personally. Then, we have to mag-swab daw kami. Then, may kakilala naman kaming doktor na personal nagpunta sa bahay. Actually, puro personal service yung ginawa sa amin eh. Sa bahay talaga ginawa, hindi talaga kami lumabas. Kaya medyo expensive yung nagastos ko during that, actually, how do you call that? COVID-19, nag-call ako dun sa doktor. Then, sinwab kaming tatlo, then we found out na positive kaming tatlo. Then after that, every day, I contacted our family physician na i-monitor kami every day. So, yung online services, may pirit po yun per head. So, then after that, pati yung after ng siguro ilang days, gumaling po kami.
We truly appreciate the heartfelt sharing of our parent interviewees. Now, all of us have our own stories to share with regards to our families during the COVID-19 pandemic. And while the government is building up or boosting up on the vaccination campaigns, there's still feelings of uncertainty on when things will get better. So the next question that we should be pondering about is, what can I do more for my family? Or how can I further support my children, especially my teenagers, during these trying times? Our guest speaker is here to answer these questions for us. So our speaker obtained his degree as Doctor of Dental Medicine from the Virgen Milagros University Foundation in Pangasinan. He pursued further studies in the University of the Philippines, Diliman, where he obtained and finished Bachelor of Music in Music Composition and also Master of Arts in Psychology. He's presently the president of the Circle of Hope, which is an organization who provides psychosocial support to the marginalized members of society, also a psychologist in We Tribe. His expertise include behavioral therapy and dealing with individual and family concerns. So without further ado, to discuss connecting with our teens, practical parenting tips during the COVID-19 pandemic, let us welcome Dr. Carlos M. Pizarro.
Hi, good morning. So I'm very, very happy to be part of this endeavor. This is a big crowd. I never had this big crowd as an audience before. Thank you so much for to the organizers. And I know that we all, especially us as parents, are being challenged by this pandemic. And especially if you're a parent, dealing with a lot of things, just like what we've heard from the interviews, there's just so much that we are plunged into that we've never faced before. So hopefully our talk or my talk this morning would be of some help to many of you. So I titled this talk Connecting with Our Teens, Practical Parenting Tips During the COVID-19 Pandemic. I know that if you have your teens, that you know how difficult that is. I have a 17-year-old son, and but I salute those among you who have more than one kid. Okay, so but remember, we are in this together. This is not just the problem of one. This is a whole community, and that's what this webinar series is all about, to bring us together so that we can find common support from each other. We also know that parenting is actually the most difficult job, right? It is actually the most difficult job in the world. And many of us don't recognize it, but actually it is. So we salute all of you parents. So, like I said, these are stressful times, unusually stressful times in terms of our work, our finances, difficulties with online classes, you name it. We are plunged into a new territory, and we have to learn to swim or else sink in desperation. But we Filipinos, or at least most of us, actually have that in us to sort of like hurdle a lot of obstacles that we have never faced before. And yet, of course, there are things that are new, and so we need to learn to swim in order to survive. And when we go through something that's new, something that we've never tried before, there is anxiety and fear. Okay. And most especially, just like what we've heard, the fear of getting infected. And that is such a real fear. Okay. And we should not minimize that. That is such a big, big fear that causes anxiety among us. So during this pandemic, I've experienced loss of good friends. Um, some of you have had that too. So someone that's close to us, someone's very close to us, best friends, mother, father, children. This is the thing that has become all too common to an experience for most of us. When you read your Facebook, you see a lot of those candles and obituaries just popping up almost every day. Okay, so work and study also have invaded our private lives and private spaces. Do you notice that? Where it used to be just a dining, it is now an office. It is now a school, diba? And not only that, sometimes you get into your own corners, and so something has just totally changed our home environment. Our home is no longer a home. Our home has become an office. Our home has become school. Our home has become all sorts of things. So, but what I'm trying to say here that this pandemic has somehow created an environment where it has invaded our school, work has invaded our personal lives, our private spaces. It has also divided our homes into territories. You know, some kids, if they have their own rooms, if you happen to have a big house, they just stay in their room. Sometimes you cannot even go in, because when online classes are ongoing, you have to stay out, especially as a parent. But it just created, mine. This is my space. That's your space. Don't come to my space. But see how that dynamic has sort of changed what home life is all about. More than that, I propose that we need also to learn not only to survive, but to live and thrive. So the challenge is for us to sort of, okay, this is where what we're going through, and we need not to just be okay, but we need to actually be very good even during these situations. Okay, so actually, it is possible to turn these challenging times, these very uncertain times, these very painful and hurtful times into actually the best of times. And so I hope that in this talk, we could sort of like begin to see the possibility that even during these most difficult times of our lives, for over like more than 18 months now, it's going to be one of the best. Okay, it's going to be one of the, and that is actually possible. Okay, so here are the current challenges of parenting teenagers. Okay, so of course it's you can't go out. Lockdowns. That means work from home, study from home. Everything is done at home. No more time outside. No more sunshine. No more playtime with other kids. No more, bike rides. No more just a lot of these activities that we used to enjoy. So it has made our place of rest as an extension of work and study. Lockdowns has made it impossible also to be together with friends and loved ones, even family members. Sometimes you avoid going to your mom or your dad kasi baka mahawaan mo sila unknowingly, di ba? And also here's the thing, just like what this picture is portraying, being together 24/7 increases family frictions and arguments. I don't know if you noticed that you would, you would probably notice that there are a lot more fightings, there are a lot more quarrels, there are a lot more, you know, this kinds of shouting and yelling at home. Of course, when there are no physical activities, you also like no exercise. There is no socializations, and socialization has become virtual, and it's good that we can do that at least. But for teenagers, one of the most important things um, is actually friendships, and that is also not happening as much. Remember, for teenagers, friendships is such an important thing because bonding with others, especially their friends, helps them grow, helps them become better in their socialization, in the way they think, and so doing common activities together is fun for them. Yes, it's fun with family, but fun, more fun with friends, diba? More fun with friends for teenagers. So that's something that's missing. So meaningful connections with friends have been greatly limited or paused, and also meaningful connections at home have also suffered. So the irony is, pandemic has made us closer physically, but yet it has also made us more distant emotionally. So this is what I say. This is the irony of our times. Families are so close together, but they are so distant emotionally. This is true for you. Hopefully not as much, but it is a reality. It is a reality. Okay. Now, first, of course, I want us to recognize that parenting begins with the parents. Okay. I want to emphasize that parenting begins with the parents. So, as parents, I want you to first realize that you have needs, you have your own concerns. And I'd like to sort of like highlight that for a while because sometimes parenting means focusing on the kids, right? Always on the kids, kids. Wait. Parenting, I feel, has to begin with you as a parent. So know your needs, be aware of your needs, physical needs, emotional. Hopefully you're not getting hungry, you're not you're sleeping well, you're bonding well with your spouse, you're mentally, spiritually healthy. And I feel that these two are also very, very important. And so unless these needs are met, you would have difficulty addressing the needs of others, particularly your teens. Okay, so you can't give what you don't have. And so it's really important to know your needs. Okay, so that's number one. And also, as a parent, you also need to know your limits. So that means, no, don't stretch yourself too thin. Rest if you have to. Matulog ka kung kailangan matulog, no? Huwag niyo akong disturbohin. Pagod ako. I want to rest. Please do the laundry muna, cook muna. Kayo muna magluto dyan, okay? Delegate if you need to and seek help, okay? Seek help. So this is really, really important. So know what you can and can't control. Yes, there are many things that you can control, but there are also a lot of things you can't control. Okay. So you just learn to let go and also just, try to examine your beliefs about the pandemic, for example, and realize that, oh, okay, I can't do anything about this. I just have to let go. Okay. But remember, your beliefs shape your behavior. And so if you believe that you can do a lot during the pandemic still, be very careful about that. But of course, there are things that you can control. So, that's why it's really, really important. Also, I just want to remind you, be careful about what you read on social media because social media can be very confusing and outright disturbing. So just as a parent, know that this can actually impact on you and just be aware of that because sometimes they say you can do this, you can do this. No, be very careful about doing too much. So, and also I think you need to realize that faith is an important factor. When I say limits, it's also realizing, oh, I'm limited in doing this, but I have a resource, a spiritual resource that I can turn to. I can ask for help. I can go to this person. Okay, so that's very important. And so, I'll read this. Parents have to model resilience because we talk about resilience. Practices to help strengthen resilience for teenagers and us as parents. What is resilience? Well, first of all, before I define that, I just have to emphasize is parents have to model what resilience is. We teach resilience by our example. So this is seen in our actions, by the way we speak, by the way we talk about our circumstances, or even the way we talk about other people. So just be aware that your behavior is being absorbed by your teenager. Our teens absorb our attitudes, and if they see that we can handle stress well, we can expect them to learn the same. Our behaviors greatly impact on our children's resilience, okay, or how they cope with our the pandemic. Okay. So what is resilience? We've talked about resilience. I mentioned that. So resilience is the ability to bounce back from a difficult and life-changing experience. So like a ball, that when you bounce a ball, it just, it contracts, it is deformed temporarily, but it is able to bounce back and regain its original shape. In our case, to face adversities again. Resilience, however, is more than just the ability to bounce back. It denotes growth and personal learnings from the experience, so that we don't repeat the same mistakes, and so that we are able to actually become better at helping others. 'Di ba? Parang kumbaga, oh, nadaanan ko na to. Parang, oh, I've learned my lesson here. Oh, I know how this works. Oh, I know what to do. 'Di ba? So it makes one face similar challenges with greater confidence, as well as self-regulation. So we don't just, alam niyo, parang nawiwindang tayo kapag dinaanan natin uli yun. So resilience is able to, oh, I can be confident. I think we can do this. Let's go through this. We can be more positive about that. Okay. So what our teens need most from us? This is a most important question. What do our teens need most from us parents? And the answer to that is to be understood. To be understood. Why are conflicts happening? Because there is a misunderstanding. So what we need most is to give our children is that we need to give them our understanding. But what is that really, to be understood? And here is the way I would put it. The important key to strengthening resilience in teenagers is in understanding what they are going through based on how they understand it. Seeing their points of view is the key of what being understood is for our teenagers. Di ba tayo mga parents, what we want is when there's a problem, we immediately come with solutions. When our kids are crying, we say, you do this, do this, do this. Meron tayong solution kaagad. But that's not what understanding is. What we need is to say, okay, tell me what happened. Okay, anong nangyari? Okay, so how do you feel? Okay. Oh, ganun ba? So what are you thinking now? What has this made you? Did you say something? Is there something I can do? Is there something that I need to understand more? So again, their understanding. This is actually the key. Okay. So seeing it from their point of view. Alam niyo yung seeing things from their own eyes, or being in their shoes, or being in their chinelas, or what. But really, it's a shift. See? So understanding is not understanding how we understand this situation if we were in their shoes. Okay? No. It's really getting into their individual personalities and say, okay, I want to know, how are you coping with this? So I want to know how you understand this. So blanco tayo. We should be blank in terms of giving advice right away. I want to know how you understand this. What are you going through? My experience is irrelevant. At some point it may be, but right now, to make them feel understood, we have to see it from their perspective. All right. And so, the main focus of parenting during this pandemic is to foster an environment where our teens feel understood. This is perhaps the most important thing during this pandemic. It is true for us, but more true for our children. Healthy and open communication is needed. This helps each member of the family openly express um, the care and support they need, without fear of embarrassment and criticism. So they can ask you, they can tell you exactly how they feel, what's going on inside of them, because they know you would not criticize. You wouldn't. They know you would not listen. They know you would not just give a quick fix. Gawin mo lang to. Maayos na yan. Hindi ganon. So they are able to tell you more about what's going on inside of them. This also leads to a home environment where each one is heard and listened to. When our teens are listened to and they know they're heard, they will do the same thing to you as a parent. See? You have to model that. You have to model that listening and asking questions so that they too will feel that, how that feels, being heard and understood, and they can extend that same thing to you. So isn't that wonderful? That's actually what is needed during this pandemic. It's that ability to extend ourselves to our kids so that we listen, so that they feel understood. Okay, so how is this done? What is healthy communication? You know, so you know, basically, it's these things we already know. We already know this, right? We already know, but sometimes we have to begin by asking questions. Some teenagers don't talk, diba? Some teenagers have gotten to the have sort of like retreated, and they have become, diba, a teenager na yan, so wag mo na pakialaman yan kasi tahimik or nag-iiba ugali. But as parents, what we need to do is first ask questions. And these questions are not just, just simply because, okay, kailangan ko magtanong ng something. No, it is to showing that you are genuinely interested with your teenager. What's happening in school? What's happening with friends? What's happening with the close relationships? Ask questions. And these are questions are really like, I want to know how your day is went. I want to know what's going on with you. I really want to know, uh, you know, what it's like to be in your shoes right now. And of course, when you ask questions, they will tell you something, right? They could sometimes the answer is just so short, but as you go along with this kinds of practices, they will talk more. So when they talk more, then we need to listen. And when we say listen, it's listening actively. It's not like listening and then may ginagawa ka dito. Listening actively is really listening with your face, with your whole body, with your posture, and really focusing. Okay. And when we say active listening, we're not just listening for facts, okay? We're actually listening for feelings. Let me repeat that. Active listening is not listening for facts. We're listening for feelings. So what is it? What's really happening inside? 'Di ba? Kung minsan nagkukwento yung kukwento siya, ang dami niya sinasabi, ang bilis niya magsalita. Oh, it seems like you're very happy, 'di ba? Pag mabilis magsalita, usually either excited or happy. Oh, medyo mabagal kang nagkukwento ngayon. Is there something going on? Are you sad? Are you like, is there something bothering you? So active listening is really focusing on the gestures, focusing on the eyes of your teenager, focusing on the voice, focusing on, those, body languages. And so, and then when they say something, we also need to clarify. Do not assume right away. Common mistakes of a parent, including myself, that when they say something, we feel like it's okay. I understand what you're saying. Or sometimes we complete their sentence, diba? Hindi pa sila tapos. We sort of like, ganyan, 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 ganyan. Kasi ako nangyari, di ba, dinudugtungan natin. And we should not do that. So we need to clarify in order to better understand. Don't assume that we know. It's good to just clarify. So it's good to ask questions, follow-up questions. Do you mean to say this? You said this. Are you referring to this? I'm sorry, but I'm not able to follow you. Could you repeat that? Diba? And then when sumagot na sila, we need time to reflect. So we need to ask, listen, clarify, and reflect. What is to reflect? To reflect is to pause and think through our own thoughts and feelings. Meaning to say, we sort of like examine, okay, my teenager said this. How is that affecting me? Am I disturbed? Am I angry? Am I like, ito na naman tayo? You know, what is boiling inside of me, or what's going on? So think through our thoughts, our, itong yung natural reactions natin. So we need to think through that. Reflecting is both like thinking what was said, but also think of what's happening inside of us. So that's both our thoughts and our feelings. And so when we are able to reflect, we can accurately respond. So when I say respond, we respond appropriately, okay? Conveying concern and care. So we respond accordingly, appropriately, conveying concern and care. There's compassion, okay? Especially if your teenager is talking about hurts, talking about frustrations, talking about, you know, failures. So this is something that we have to do. So this is supportive communication. This is healthy communication. This is the communication that we need at home. So I would say that true communication is deep emotional affirmation and leads to relational transformation. The richness of your interaction at home has to do with healthy communication. And so when you have this, I would assure you, you would have a very happy, I mean, a happier family. Okay. And that is not something, it's so easy, Oh, ask, listen, clarify, reflect, respond. Madali lang yan. Actually, it's hard. It's really, really hard. It takes time to master this. Okay. So how do you know that your teens, that you're actually, you've been a good parent, or that you really understood them? Okay. Because this is actually the key to parenting during this pandemic. It is actually having that quality time, quality conversation time. So when you're teens, talk more than you do. Okay? Meaning to say, mas madaldal ho sila kaysa sa inyo as parents. When they trust you with their secrets more than with their friends, when they laugh with you and cry with you, when they can be just silent and simply, just want to be with you and have your presence, somehow you know that you've been a very good parent. Okay? So it is in these little things that I feel that can transform your family. And so that's it. So uh, that's the end of my presentation. I hope that this has been helpful to you. It's no, it's not. I know you already know this, most of you, and hopefully we can sort of rethink it through again, so that during this pandemic we can be more effective as parents in understanding our teenagers. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Pizarro, for sharing those pearls of wisdom with us on how to actually communicate with our teens. And these are very, very useful for our parents who are viewing right now. So for the next portion, as with the previous webinars, we have invited a youth representative to share some insights and reactions to the presentation. So with us today is Augel C. Orozco, a first-year college student from Rawis, Legazpi City in Albay. So over to you now, Augel.
Hello. All right. So before I begin with my youth reaction, I would like to first to thank akoparasabata for giving me this opportunity, and of course to thank Dr. Maanyo and Dr. Pizarro for their very amazing presentations, and of course to the parents that participated during the first few parts of the activity. What I noticed first during the activity was that the communication between the parents on how they presented, how they managed their households, how they talk to their children, how they set their parenting techniques, rules, restrictions, and schooling techniques, of course, how to provide help during academic endeavors for their children, as well as them giving importance to their family bonding, their honesty with their children, and of course, the concerns that have been brought upon by the COVID-19 pandemic. For example, the concerns about going out. I've heard that some parents don't allow their parents to go out because, of course, it is the health protocols for these certain locations. And of course, the health concerns, some children are, from what I've heard during the activity, are comorbidities. And of course, the concerns of parents for their children in the case of what can I do more for my family. And it made me appreciate children, or made me appreciate parents much better. And I've seen their perspectives now in a new light, because I've never really heard about the perspectives of parents when it comes to these important things. As a kid, as a child. I mean, I think I'm still a teenager. I mean, at the age of 18, but yeah, it's a very enlightening perspective from them. So I really thank Dr. Maanyo for presenting that the opinions of parents are extremely important, because of course Dr. Pizarro already told us that parenting starts with the parents, and um, the first hand provision of this information truly did bring my perspective to a very different level, and a good level at that. And for Dr. Pizarro, I really liked how he talked to us in a very calm manner, as how a parent would talk to their child when they are asking for their opinions, when they're consoling them, as well as I really liked how Dr. Pizarro as well provided the concerns, or summarized the problems that, or the complications that the pandemic has provided when it comes to the family, that these are stressful times, that we are plunged into a new territory, that we need to learn to swim in order to survive. And this is a time where anxiety and fear is here because we don't want to be infected. And I really feel for the statement that Dr. Pizarro has told me, where the death of someone we personally know has become all too common. Family when they are gone is already too much for us. And the fact that we are now in a time where our families are very vulnerable is very difficult to comprehend. And I really agree with the fact that our home is no longer a home. It has become an office or a school and all sorts of things. And I really found it relatable when Dr. Pizarro said, bawal pumasok, may pasok ako, may klase ako. And I really relate to that as a student. And yeah, we have come in an era where we can now keep saying that this is my space, don't come to my space. And the compartmentalization of the home really did support the idea that Dr. Pizarro said, that the pandemic has made us closer physically, yet it has made us more distant emotionally. Truly ironic, as he said. It is the irony of our times. Anyways, moving forward, I really like how Dr. Pizarro has highlighted that parenting begins with the parents, that just like the children, parents have needs and concerns, and that you cannot give what you don't have, and to seek help when you need it. And of course, to know the limits of the parents, and of course, that they cannot control people, but they can control their interactions, that faith is important. And I entirely agree with that, especially in the concept of faith, na we should believe that pag wala tayong malalapitan, we can always approach our faith. And then I really truly agree, that parents have to model what they want to teach to their children, because as a teen, I do agree that whenever I see my parents do something, I more or less emulate what they do. For example, how my mother will manage finances, that's how I manage finances as well. And how she cleans the house, I learn from her the technique to clean the house. And I really do agree with that sentiment. And lastly, what I want to highlight is that the idea of teens need to be understood. That is true, especially that when you understand children or teens, it is important that you see them or understand it based on how they understand their problems, how they understand their problems. Seeing their points of view is the key. And I can also add that this is not only applicable to teenagers, from parents to teenagers, but it can be applied to almost everyone, that you can lead to a better understanding when you see things from the lenses of their eyes. And of course, the main focus of parenting during this pandemic is to foster an environment where our teens feel understood. And of course, according to Dr. Pizarro, helps each family member openly express the care and support they need without the fear of criticism. So personally, the activity for me really did make me appreciate my parents even more. I mean, I really love my parents, and this has made me love them even more. Na this is what they go through sometimes, and I've seen those things. And now that I've been affirmed by the information that I have seen here, I feel like when I go home after this one, I'll give them a big hug. And yeah, and I really agree with the fact that when Dr. Pizarro said that when your teens talk more than you do, trust you with their secrets more than their friends, laugh with you and cry with you, and when they can be just be silent and simply just want to be with you, somehow you know you've been a very good parent. And of course, from my perspective as a teen, when I as a teen would want to talk more than my parent, to share my secrets to them rather than to my friends, and when I want to laugh with them and cry with them, and sometimes when I can just be quiet and simply just sit beside them, somehow I also think that they've become a very good parent, and they've also become a very good son and daughter, if it's applicable to the others as well. And yeah, I do agree na these are the little things that can transform your family. I was supposed to ask a few questions, but I think the concept of family really has hit too, or not hit too close to home in a bad way, but it has hit close to home. And I hope that everyone here, the participants, the organizers, have come to appreciate their parents even more, just like I did after this activity. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Aljel, for that heartfelt sharing. We truly appreciate that you learned some value and some insights from the entire presentation. That is what we hope to do naman for this session. May I please call back Dr. Pizarro to join me in the Zoom space? Okay. Hi, Doc Carlos. Welcome back again.
Hi. Oo,
Okay.
kumusta?
So we will get the ball rolling. So I will start asking the first question. Okay. My first question is actually my own personal question. For those parents who have find it difficult to start communicating with their teenagers, what is your best advice for them? So for those na hindi na sila nag-uusap at all, how do they start?
Yeah, you have to start somewhere. One that I would suggest is do activities first. So, halimbawa, nagliligpit ng pinggan, okay? All you have to do is just be there. Okay, pareho kayo nagliligpit. And then you can start with conversations like, oh, pakipasa nga yung sabon, ako naman ako na lang maghugas ito, o pwede kayo na lang ako na lang yung kaldero. So you start with those little conversations, but then you start through activities. Okay? And then, okay, grocery tayo, halimbawa. O sige, dalawang tayo anak. Okay? And then when you do those activities, somehow you cannot avoid, di ba? Oh, pakikuha ngayon. Ano gusto mong ulam natin sa breakfast, di ba? So that's where you could start having these little conversations. Lalo na kapag you've been so disconnected for a long time. It is really difficult, okay? Pero doing activities together initially will really help.
Thank you, Dr. Pizarro, for that really practical, actually, answer. Because it is true. If you find it difficult to start conversing with your teenager, it's really hard to start. So start with activities, as Dr. Pizarro mentioned.
Mm-mm.
So my next question is, what advice can you give to parents who are still using traditional methods of disciplining, halimbawa pamamalo, and what are your opinions about children teaching their parents how to be parents? So what is your
Wh-
take on this, Dr. Carlos?
yeah, I'll answer the first question first, and then I'll ask you to repeat the second one. So, really, itong pamamalo is, we have to sort of think about this. Pinalo din ako ng bata ako, no? And it's because, the intention of my father is to make sure I don't repeat the same mistake, especially if it's a grave mistake. So the intention is good, okay? However, when that becomes very convenient for you to do, kasi nandyan lang yung pamalo mo, lalo na pag matigas siya, nakasabit lang, madali mong kunin, sometimes you are not able to actually think through whether ano ba to, namamala ko kasi gusto kong turuan to or galit ako, 'di ba? So there's something about in your facing that, you're frustrated that your child did the same thing again or nagkamali siya or meron siyang ginawang hindi dapat. Kuminsan sa galit natin, ginagamit natin yan to express our anger. What is happening is we're addressing our need rather than the need of the child to learn. So there's a danger there, and I think that's where the danger lies, is when we are actually using that to address something that is so frustrating and address our needs rather than the needs of the child. So we need to focus on the child. Does he really need that? Okay, does he really need na paluin siya? Baka pwede naman siya makuha sa usapan lang. Baka there's another approach. But you see, when you hurt a child, that tends to be very traumatic for a child. And he or she will carry that for the rest of her life. I am espousing the fact that, you know, if that is part of your family discipline way, I just would like you to maybe think of another way of using it. In other words, if you don't have to use that, don't use it. Okay? If you, I would even go so far as, we've raised our kid uh, initially with that also, pero parang, uy, mali ah, mali. So, and then we sort of, hindi naman pala kailangan. So maybe there's that, I just want you to open your, the possibility, be open to the possibility, but maybe that's not needed. Okay, maybe that's not needed. Mm.
Thank you for that, Doc Carlos. So we move on to our next question. Hopefully, we all learned something from a different point of view.
Mm.
So my next question actually comes from a Facebook question. So maybe the experiences of families, especially children living in the slum areas, are very different.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this, on how to parent them and how to advise these parents from these areas?
Yes. So it is actually very, very challenging to be in those kinds of, to be in that, to be struggling with, the pandemic, especially if you don't have a lot of resources. So napakalit ng inyong lugar, napakalit uh, ang tahanan ninyo, tapos nandun kayo lahat. So napakahirap. So it's really very challenging, and sometimes I don't even have the answers to that. But what I feel is that, do your best. Do whatever you think is best in protecting the child. So I would go first and foremost in terms of safety. Okay, safety muna ng bata. So safety that they are, well taken care of in terms of their needs, and then of course safety in terms of, like, making sure that uh, being cramped does not expose them to the danger of, like, physical abuse, all those sorts of abuse. And then of course you can still address their emotional need uh, like that. So ano lang, you know what? I wish I do have the answers to that, but I know it can be very challenging. So I guess, you know your situation best. So do whatever you think is best under the circumstance, and you know what? That's the right thing as a parent.
So it really depends on the situation where you're in. You just have to adjust
Right.
accordingly to, and just
Right.
make the best of what you actually have, which is always
Yes.
good.
Yes.
And important, I think, mentioned yung Sir Carlos, is na you have to really to bond and find ways. Ang bonding naman, hindi naman kailangan mahal. Just find
Oh.
something simple to bond with. Magluto kayo together, lakad-lakad together, just togetherness in a different point perspective, but something that you both will enjoy. I think yun yung
Right.
key point here, that we should always get the message across to other people.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I think that's a very good insight, Dr. Mano. Kasi yung ano yung doing things together is pwedeng games, pwedeng laro, 'di ba? Ng mga simpleng laro. Pwedeng mga kwentuhan o pwedeng mga nagbabasa kayo. Pwede naman kayo manood together. But the key there is that you're all doing the same thing. Uh, in one gadget, sana, ganon. So that you bond together, you talk together. So it's still possible. Yes, that's true.
Okay. I have another question here for Dr. Pizarro. What suggestions can you give to a teen or in the families who really lives by himself or who only lives with gadgets, is not interested in participating in any family activity, and shows his interest in other things? So itong bata living alone, merong konti yung supervision from the family. Or
Oo.
ganun yung feeling niya.
Parang ang hirap, no? Because usually teens would like to socialize. So if that is not happening, maybe he's using his gadgets to socialize. But you see, interaction wherein you are able to talk with others is very important for teens, no? So I could not imagine what that is like. I know some, but they're already in their college years, na medyo naging independent na sila, and they're able to take care of themselves. So iba yon kasi parang alam na nila kung anong kailangan nila in terms of their nutrition, in terms of their hygiene. But if this is someone who's left on his own or her own, na walang parental visits, parang I would be very worried about that. So I would probably go and try to see what's going on really. So, but I feel like that's a little bit medyo extreme ata yon. So a little bit not normal, I think. Not ideal.
I think for those cases, ang mahalaga lang is the parents check in every now and
Yeah.
then. Kamustahin mo lang.
Yeah.
Parang still have bonding moments kahit once a week, because these teens still need to hear from you and would love to hear from their parents every now and then. So if you have a
Yeah.
teen living, halimbawa naka-dorm siya, somewhere away from you, best still to try and communicate with them. Pwede kayong mag-Zoom meeting kung gusto mo, or kahit Viber chat lang or Facebook chat. It's really a good place to start. So find moments.
Right.
Moments, hindi kailangan matagal, moments lang to bond, even
Mhm.
online. I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah. So make sure that you just communicate, no? That's good.
Maximize what we have right now.
Right.
So, Doc Carlos, ang next question ko, I just want to ask how to advise parents whose children are already addicted on online games. Most of the parents in our area have the same problem since last year. So I think internet addiction or parang spending too much is already, it's a normal right now. So what would you advise to these parents, especially for their teenagers who really spend too much time online?
Okay, parang I'm working with someone who has this particular issue also. So, first of all, what has caused it? Sometimes kasi yung pag-o-online gadget is because of some reason. Others are like unable to cope with school and that's their way of escape. So, kumbaga, titingnan natin, bakit kaya? Okay, bakit kaya? Is it simply because of the games or baka may iniiwasan? So, I just want us to at least have that in mind. But at the same time, if you really want to control that, first is that you need to inform your teenager that, we need to work on this. This is no longer healthy, especially if it's invading in your on your sleeping time. Ganyan. Alam nyo ba? There are those who are playing for 12 hours a day. Playing 12 hours a day. Uh, Tapos matutulog sila, tapos hindi pa maganda yung tulog nila, no? So that's no longer healthy. So you need to communicate with them. Okay, we need to cut on this. Now, when you need to cut on this, you need to cut it slowly naman. Wag naman yung biglaan, okay, 2 hours ka lang, ano? So from 12 to 2 hours, parang napakahirap naman ating gawin yun. My suggestion is make it very clear. Communicate why that child needs to cut down on the games because it affects the school. Is it because it's affecting our time together, because you already are not, parang you have your own world, you're not even meeting with us anymore. So you have to cut that, but cut it slowly. Okay, cut it slowly, like maybe cut it 1 hour, so in like a month you have cut it, like in hopefully in 1 month you're able to cut it to just 2 hours. But again, the important thing is, what's the substitute, di ba? What's the substitute? So what am I going to gain from this? What sometimes, sometimes rewards work. Sometimes it's like, okay, we need to do something else. We can go biking, we can do more of this, we can do, so give them other options. Like give them other things to play with, or maybe instead of a game, maybe a different program in which they could build, like they could build houses, or they could just interact with family members. But there has to be a substitute, and that's something for you to look for. Ano kaya yung substitute? Okay, so there has to be, or okay, if you do that, we'll get you a new dress, or maybe a new shoes, but you have to cut it down. So parang ganon, parang there's like deal. So I think that should help. It's not perfect, but it should help.
That's very important, Doc Carlos, because it's really difficult to control the internet right now. It's the only way to communicate with friends. So I think
Right.
important na sabi ni Dr. Carlos is that you should be clear with your rules and always
Right.
explain bakit mo siya kina-cut down.
Mm.
Lalo na kung school day, explain that we have to have limits on your internet use on a school day. Important really to start with that, and tama din to have some parang internet-free activities at home. You should focus on that. Kasi hindi mo pwede i-cut down ang internet use without having a substitute later. Tama talaga yun. It's really hard. But I'm pretty sure there's something that you can do together without internet. Walking around, parang playing board games. I think
Right.
it's also important.
Like
So
learn a new skill, learn a new language, learn a new instrument,
or parang yes, doing something together that's fun. It's always the best place to start. Anyway,
Right.
I have a challenging question here. What are the best interventions for parents for children who are committed for minor cases during the COVID-19, such as pagnanakaw, baby shoplifting, paglayas, hindi open sa kanilang gusto, which is very challenging. So what is your advice for these parents?
Oh, wow. That can be very challenging, no? So, especially kung anak mo yan, tapos nagnakaw, tapos merong, na-report sa police and all that. But remember, when these kids are kids, so sometimes they do things without because they don't know any better, or na they were prompted to do something, medyo they were tempted and all that. Whatever the case is, children are children, and we have to treat them as children. And if they're children, then they can change. They can grow from that. They can learn from that. That yung crimes na yon, no matter how petty, has consequences. So their behaviors have consequences. So these are opportunities for them to learn. Okay? So these are not, they don't deserve to be jailed. They don't need to be incarcerated. The parents have to be more involved. Definitely, the parents need to be more like, okay, I need to make sure that my child doesn't do this, but it has to be done with care, not with anger, or kasi parang nasirain yung pangalan, but really to do that. But again, children can change. Okay, generally children can change. So that's where I'm coming from. I want to work with them, and as parents, you can work with them too. And when they know that you care, okay, you grow from this. This is a mistake. Definitely, this is a mistake. Okay, let's not do this again. Okay, okay, I'll help you. And then that's it. To give them an idea that this is not the end of their lives, to give them a sense that, okay, this is a learning opportunity for me. I can still correct my ways. So giving them hope from where they are leads them to be changed, rather than, oh, wala ka ng pag-asa, ganyan, ganyan, di ba? Kung sa mga parents, pag nagsasalita ka na, ano ka ba? Wala ka ng pag-asa, ganyan ka na ulit. That makes them become like that even more. But giving them hope for change, and you help them there, actually, that's the best way to deal with that.
I love how you ended the question in a positive spin. So really, hope is still the bottom line, that we should always give them hope, that there's
Right.
still hope for their future
Right.
later on. So this is another question. I find some of my queries or questions of my son irrelevant and nonsense. And sometimes I get irritated about it. And I insist to stopping asking these nonsense questions. How do I respond to this? So parang
Yeah.
naiirita siya sa mga tanong ng anak niya. How would we
Oh,
respond to
I
this?
wonder what questions those are, no? So for me as a parent, I also want to know what those questions are. But kung minsan kasi, yeah, it can be very irritating kasi paulit-ulit ba? Or walang sense? So, or is the child really curious? 'Di ba? So, or nagtatanong ba siya kasi iniirita ka? Mukhang hindi naman, 'di ba? Hindi naman ganyan mga bata. So when they're asking something, I think first of all we need to answer that. I think it is our obligation to our kids to satisfy them. If they're not satisfied, they will probably answer. If you cannot answer it, you can ask them to go, oh, why don't you ask si kuya or si daddy or si tito about that? Maybe he could, because I don't know the answer. But to ignore, saglit lang, maybe something's not right there, 'di ba? When you ignore, parang the message is, I don't care. I don't care about you. I don't care what you're saying. I don't care about your questions. You don't matter. And that's the painful thing there. So please don't ignore. Please don't, okay, okay, 'di ba nag-usap na tayo? Or you can say, oh, sige, mamaya sasagutin ko yan. Pero ngayon parang hindi ko pa maintindihan kung ano isasagot ko. Sige, mamaya, pwede ba mamaya? Okay. But again, you have to look, is it coming from a curious child? 'Di ba? Kasi most likely hindi naman siya magtatanong kung iiritahin ka lang eh. So I'd like to know, for me, I'd like to probably know more about where the child is coming from.
I agree with that, to Carlos. If they're parang trying to reach out to you, just try to parang be more understanding that this child is actually asking for more help or some advice from you to help in this situation talaga.
Right.
So please parang be patient. Parang hinga ka muna ng malalim, tapos hear what they have to say. If parang medyo busy ka na during your day, take the time to really listen because listening is important. So our next question, we will try to answer all the questions we can within given time. So our next question is, may mga bata at teenagers po ngayon, marami silang family issues. May mga ibang may family issues at dysfunctional families. Paano po ba ma-address ang ganitong problema ng mga bata and kabataan? Such a broad question. But Dr. Alice, how would you answer that?
Right. For me, I probably, well, yeah, dysfunctional families are very common. They're not ideal situations, but they're here. They're happening. We know it. Sometimes it's in our own families, diba, or our own backgrounds. So, how I would probably answer that is really like to, if the dysfunctionality of the family cannot be fixed, then you have to sort of like deal with the situations individually or separately or specifically, okay? Although ideally sana is to deal with the root cause of the why are you dysfunctional. Is it because there's a problem? Is that problem permanent? Can that be fixed? So deal with that first. Kasi the reason sometimes children have problems is because of the dysfunctional family.
Important rin yun ah. Now, ang next question then, Dr. Carlos, is how about parents who are OFWs who cannot be around to supervise their teens? What will be the best advice for these parents or for those families?
Yeah, the best thing still is to be connected through our gadgets, diba? Through the internet. So video chats, emails, messaging, short messages, these are still very, very important. And that's the best thing you can do. And so, simply because you're so separate doesn't mean you cannot use those. Go ahead, diba? Go ahead. Make time, that's all you can do. And hopefully there'll be a time when you can visit because what you're trying to do is maintaining the connection. I am your father. I'm concerned about you. You are my child. And so, I'd like to know what's happening. In doing that, however, we make sure that we are also asking questions na talagang we want to know. Hindi yung every time na bubuksan nila yung kanilang tumawag si Papa, halimbawa, ay naku, puro utos na naman. Ay naku, puro gawin mo to, gawin mo yan. Puro galit. That's what we're trying to avoid, okay? Make those connections something that is fun and something that is like, oh, how I wish Dad will call again. Sana ganun ang feeling nila. Okay.
I love the emphasis of making connections really parang fun and relevant for our teenagers. So we only have time for one question, but I cannot help myself. I have to ask this question. What if magkaiba po ang parenting styles ng father and mother? Paano po maiwasan ang di magbuluhan ang mga bata sa pagkakaiba ng parenting styles ng parents nila?
Then this is a problem of the parents. Okay, the children cannot afford to be hearing separate voices. I mean, what I mean is parang magkaiba, lalo na magkasalungat ang kanilang mga pananaw, okay? There has to be only one. So if it has to be settled by Jack and Poy, so be it. But there only has to be one. So the way to do that is you as parents have to talk about it, have to compromise, have to agree that there's only one approach that you will have to adapt. Okay, it means that, okay, maybe pagdidisiplina, ganito dapat, para pag ganito, kay nanay, ganito, ganyan. But you have to agree. You cannot afford. I'm sorry that it's not an option for children to be hearing two different opposing voices in terms of your parenting.
Okay, so thank you for that, Dr. Pizarro. Unfortunately, this is the only we only have time for that last question. So before we end, Dr. Pizarro, I would like to ask you one final message to our viewers, as well as please give some advice on how to improve resiliency.
Yeah, okay. So other than what I've already said earlier, we have to realize that, even though we're dealing with our children because we are parents, we are parenting them, we also have to think in terms of the greater community. When we say the greater community, these are our support system, these are our doctors, these are our friends, in order for us to raise our kids as a community. So when we have that sense of community, parang the load will become lighter. Okay, so and the whole community is involved. That's what we're trying to do, in which there is a culture in which yung kapitbahay concerned sa anak ko. Okay, ako concerned ako sa kapitbahay ko. Of course, it's not always an ideal situation where we're in, but how I wish we have that, wherein we learn from one another. We learn from the wisdom of our grandparents, we learn from the wisdom of children. And so it's like we're thinking in terms of, okay, we are a community and we have to work together. And I have to raise my children in such a way that they contribute positively to my community, and that I also uh, care for others, diba? I care for them. So, but one of the things I probably need to emphasize more is the need for faith, the need for spiritual guidance. That's something that we as parents need to always be aware of, because we know that we are limited, but there's someone who actually can take care of them. There's someone that our children can rely on when we fail. And so building their faith, and that also has to come from us. We build our faith, and that we so that our children can see that and they have their own faith that will guide them throughout their lives, even if your parenting is not perfect. Even if your parenting is perfect, they will still have someone to hang on to, that will guide them all throughout their lives. And recognize that your perfect parenting is not really important, but your care and your love is all that they need. Okay, so that's basically what I want to say.
Thank you, Doc Carlos, for sharing your pearls of wisdom with all of us. Thank you, Doc Carlos. And unfortunately, we don't have time to answer all your questions, but hoping we learned a lot from this session. So to our Dr. Carlos, thank you again. To our very active participants, thank you very much. So muli, maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Sabay-sabay nating sabihin na ako, tayo, para sa bata. See you again and stay safe.